Is it still Victory Monday? I guess it can still be Victory Monday. It's Saints week. So I got my guy, Peter DiBiase. He's usually here on Mondays. Our schedules have been kind of conflicting, but Peter's going to be here every Monday that he can be here Monday. But yeah, it's Bills Saints week. The line, we were just talking offline, it's 16.5. So that's a topic for another show. Today, we kind of want to talk about the AFC East and kind of everything that's played out in the last couple of weeks, and especially after the 1:00 slate games from yesterday. But first and foremost, Peter, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good.
We lost.
My mic keeps getting unplugged, so this probably won't be the last time it happened. No, the Bills are 3-0. The AFC East might be falling apart outside of the Bills, so you can't really ask for much more on this Monday.
Yeah, it's I was talking in our group chat last night after the 1 p.m. slate games were over, and the Bills are technically at 4 games on the Jets and Dolphins because they have the tiebreakers, and both teams are 0-3. So where do you want to start with this? Because obviously we talk Bills all the time. Like I talk Bills all the time. So, but I wanted to spend some time talking about the Patriots, Jets, and the Dolphins. So did you get a chance to watch the Jets and the Patriots yesterday? And if you did, what are your thoughts? We can start with the Patriots. Like, what are your thoughts about how they played the Steelers yesterday?
Yeah, so I usually, when the Bills don't play, I usually flip on. I have Sunday ticket, so I'll flip like on Sunday ticket. I'll flip on Red Zone. I kind of get a little PTSD if I try to miss some. Not PTSD, FOMO. If I miss two totally different things. If I missed some of the NFL action, but talking about the Patriots, they kind of gave that game to Pittsburgh yesterday. Right. So I think if you look what the Patriots did, I got to pull it up right here. They had
turnovers, I think, right?
Yeah, they had 4 fumbles that they lost. So they fumbled 4 times. They lost all 4 of them. Drake May also threw a goal line interception. So you had Ramondre Stevenson fumble at the 1-yard line, and Drake May throw an interception at the goal line. So you had 2 chances where you could have got at least 6 points, maybe 14 points, that you got absolutely no points, and you end up losing by 7. So you can probably boil that down to that's probably the difference in the game, and it probably was. The Patriots are interesting. They look sloppy week 1 against Vegas. They play an up and down, back and forth game against Miami, have a huge special teams play, and to beat Miami. And then yesterday, they basically give that game to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh doesn't really take it, and then the game kind of just ends, and the Patriots lose. The Patriots are still probably a year away from what people thought they were. I picked the Patriots to be like a 7-8, potentially 9-win team this year. I thought they could maybe battle for a playoff spot, but end up missing a playoff spot at the end of the year. I don't know if they're there yet. They're probably closer to 6 wins than they are 9. You could obviously, that's a game or 2 here or there. I don't know if they're fully there yet with defensively and offensively. Their weapons are really suspect. And that was their biggest issue. And we saw yesterday, outside of Hunter Henry, who had a monster game, had 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, Dave, is there anyone else that really scares you on this team? Outside of Henry Stevenson, who's a running back, who had a horrid game yesterday with fumbling the ball, and Austin Hooper, those are tight ends and running backs. Kayshon Boutte had 2 catches. Matt Collins had 4 for 27 yards. They didn't have a receiver go for more than 28 yards yesterday. So the Patriots are a year away with their lack of weapons. I think Drake May is good. He's progressing as a young quarterback, but their turnover issues and their inconsistency. So what I saw yesterday is just a team that is not ready to win football games yet.
So you talked about the Steelers, and their aspect coming out of that game. Was this more of an indictment on the Steelers, or was it more of an indictment on the Patriots? Because the Patriots aren't going to turn the ball over 5 times.
No.
Regularly. That's just not going to happen. That's one of those one-off games where things are just, it's just weird. But with having 5 turnovers and the Steelers, I don't know if they scored 7 or 14 points off of turnovers, but is that an indictment also on the Steelers? And I don't want to go off on a tangent and talk about the AFC teams, but like, to me, I was watching that game and I'm like, you keep giving the ball to the Steelers and they just don't seem to be doing anything with it. I will say, and again, this might be an indictment on the Steelers offensive line. The Patriots defensive line looked pretty good. It didn't look horrible, but the back end didn't look great. And you don't have, the Steelers have DK Metcalf, but you don't have all world beaters on the Steelers other than DK Metcalf, who warrants a ton of attention. So I don't know. To me, like, the Patriots were this team that everybody in the offseason was saying they could be a team to watch. They could be a team that could sneak into the wild card. I don't think anybody was predicting them to win the East, obviously, but they were one of those teams that, hey, they got Mike Vrabel. He is a completely different coach than what they had last year. He's a guy who was very successful in Tennessee, and players love to play for him. He's a player's coach, right?
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, they still don't have on paper the roster that is a playoff caliber roster. I think there's they have Drake May, who I think is going to be a really good quarterback in this league for a long time. There was a couple plays yesterday when it just looked really simple to him. There was one I remember was he was getting pressure and he just kind of rolled out and he ran for like 14 yards and he was just looked like he was jogging. Like it looked like it came natural to him. So I don't know. I mean, the Bills, October 5th, that's the rivalry game against the Patriots. That's the next test for the Bills in the AFC East, and then they will have played all three teams. And if the Bills come away with a victory in that game, which I think they will, I mean, it's a Sunday night game, so it's prime time. But I don't see much from the Patriots. Again, they looked better in week 1, I thought. They didn't look great last week, and then yesterday, I think there was just too many turnovers to really kind of evaluate, what their offense looks like. Because there was times when they were moving the ball and then they shot themselves in the foot with turnovers. So, all right, what about the Jets? Did you have a chance to see any of the Jets yesterday? What's your thoughts on the Jets? I feel like if you're looking at the standings right now, you can go Jets, Dolphins either way in the bottom at 0-3. But what's your thoughts on the Jets going forward?
They're missing a ton of talent at a lot of key positions, right? I don't know what Aaron Glenn is as a head coach. Like we just talked about the Patriots, Dave. I think Mike Vrabel's a very good NFL head coach. I don't know if he's an elite top 5 head coach, but Mike Vrabel, the Patriots won't fail this year. Probably not. If they fail, it's not going to be because of Mike Vrabel. It's going to be because of other options, no receivers, all that kind of stuff, lack of talent. I don't know what Aaron Glenn is yet, right? He's 0-3, and I'm not saying he's not going to be a good coach. I actually kind of like the hire this offseason. I thought it was not a flashy like a Ben Johnson hire, but a safe hire. But obviously, it's a defensive hire, and the league is going to more offensive, obviously. The Jets are interesting, right? Like you look at some key positions, and they're talented. I was on Lance's show last week, and we talked about their D-line, and they can get after the quarterback with Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson, and they have Quinnen Williams up front. Like those are 3 really good NFL players right there. And then you look in the secondary, they have Sauce Gardner. Outside of Sauce Gardner, it hasn't been great. And Sauce Gardner hasn't been great either this year, to be completely honest. He's been a little bit a step behind. And then you look at offensively, you have Breece Hall, who's been very up and down, inconsistent. He was good week 1, hasn't been great week 2 or week 3. And Garrett Wilson, who's a really good NFL receiver. They don't have a quarterback. I love Tyrod. It's not Tyrod, obviously. He's 35, 36. It was never going to be Tyrod. And then they have Justin Fields, who's probably not a starter in the National Football League. It's point blank. I saw a Jets team that kind of just came out of the gate slow again. Like they came out of the gate slow against Buffalo in week 2. They came out of the gate slow in week 3 against Tampa Bay. This was a team that was not ready to play yesterday at all. They were not ready to play. They get back in the game, they block a field goal, and then all of a sudden they might win the game, and then they lay down defensively. So if you're a Jets fan, that's frustrating because your team didn't show up in the first half at all. So you probably kind of check out. You flip red zone on, you flip another game on. There were some crazy endings in the NFL yesterday, especially in the 1 o'clock window. So you check out of the first half. You're like, we're probably not going to win this game. You come back, you block a field goal, you return it for a touchdown, take the lead, and then give it right back. Like that's a cruel form of torture right there for Jets fans. But they're missing so much talent at so many positions. Outside of wide receiver, outside of Garrett Wilson, they don't have a ton of talent. They don't have a quarterback. Like if you just want to boil it down to one thing, it's their quarterback. And under Robert Saleh, they didn't have a quarterback at all. But the one thing that they did have was a legit defense, a top 5 defense in the National Football League that would make it a really tough week in and week out game. And we saw Josh Allen struggle a ton against that Robert Saleh defenses over the last couple of years. Dave, I don't know if the Jets have a good defense right now. Through 3 weeks, they don't. They got boat raced by Pittsburgh, who does not look good outside of week 1. And Pittsburgh struggled to score points yesterday. And the Patriots, like you said, tried to hand them that game with multiple turnovers. They scored 10 points against the Bills, 7 of them with Tyrod in garbage time, so 3 actual points. And then, I mean, they gave up 30 points. I flipped it. They gave up 30 points to the Bills, and then they gave up 29 points to the Buccaneers yesterday. So you don't have a quarterback on offense. You struggle with your weapons outside of Garrett Wilson, and you don't have a really good defense right now. The Jets are probably a 4-5 win team, which I thought beforehand they were. I thought they would be a little more bit competitive in some of these games. They were yesterday, but they didn't show up in the first half, and that's probably the reason they ended up losing.
So do you think that Aaron Glenn is very similar to Robert Saleh? Because I like you. I like the hire. I like Aaron Glenn. I think he's a really brilliant defensive-minded coach. But I think the Jets needed an offensive coach because of how the roster is assembled. They need to find a quarterback that they can develop. They chose, with their new general manager, they chose to not draft anyone. They chose to say, all right, we're going to give a bunch of money to Justin Fields for 2 years. Now, Tyrod, like you said, is Tyrod. He's a veteran backup, but this team has been built defensively to give good team fits. Like you said, Josh Allen has had issues. There was some times in the game last week against the Jets, the Bills versus Jets, where Josh Allen was being knocked around. I mean, he broke his nose in that game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like the Jets to me are a team that they're consistently going to be the Jets. I don't know if it's just that they can't find the right coach, GM, player, like just have it all come together at one, because the Bills have a defensive-minded coach, but they also have Josh Allen. So they figured, okay, we have a defensive-minded coach. We have to find our franchise quarterback, because if we're going to lean heavily on defense and that's our head coach's prowess and that's what got him hired, we need to find the alpha male at quarterback. And the Jets just can't do that. They just haven't been able to do that for so long. So it's going to be interesting to see. I feel like this, like you said, is probably a 4 or 5 win, if that, type of season for them, and that's fine. It's Aaron Glenn's first year. I didn't expect them to be world beaters or anything like that. So we'll just have to see how it goes. And I don't know, man. Like you said, they're constantly a team. And then I want to ask you another question. They're constantly a team that I feel like they just can't get out of their own way. And it's just anything that can happen negatively to the Jets happens, whether it's offensively, special teams, defensively, and that comes down to coaching. So I did want to ask you, because our watchers and our listeners probably don't know that you live in that market. You live in the Giants and Jets market. So what's kind of the word and the buzz out there from like the local media and stuff about this team and how they've come across the first 3 weeks of the season, and I guess kind of their outlook so far?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, obviously there's going to be those irrational people talking about firing and Aaron Glenn and all that fun stuff. That's dumb. That's not happening. No one thinks that's happening.
Right.
People, if you talk about Aaron Glenn and what people are talking about, they are concerned about, and I mentioned it, not showing up in some of these games with effort, right? You can have a lack of talent, and I think the Jets top to bottom have some talented, good players, but they have a lack of top end talent from 1 to 21 of your top players. Week 2 against the Bills and first half against Tampa Bay, they didn't come out at all with any effort. And I think when I was listening to the radio this morning, people were talking about they're concerned with Aaron Glenn in the sense of that the team's not coming out with lack of effort. Outside of Aaron Glenn, they're concerned about their defense. They're concerned that this defense is not what they're being paid to be. They have Quinnen Williams, you have Will McDonald, you have Sauce Gardner, who's really high paid up there in the cornerback market and has not looked like a number one corner. And someone called in today and they said, well, he was going up against Mike Evans. And the radio host kind of came back to him and was like, well, he's paid to go up against those guys. Right. And he's paid to shut down those guys. He's not a rookie corner. He's not a vet that's just latched onto his fourth team. He is paid to go up against Mike Evans. He's paid to go up against DK Metcalf, the elite receivers in this National Football League. And if he's not winning at those matchups or consistently winning at those matchups, then what is the point of paying Sauce Gardner? There is no point. They're concerned about that. And then at the end of the day, Dave, they're concerned that they don't have a franchise quarterback. And they don't have a franchise quarterback on the roster, right? It's not Tyrod, obviously, and it's not Justin Fields. So the dynamic with like the Jets and the Giants is they think they might have something Jackson Dart. He's a rookie. We don't know. There's that hope. With the Jets, they're like, well, we're not good defensively, and we don't have a franchise quarterback. And we just paid Garrett Wilson, and we just paid Sauce Gardner. What are we doing here? So it's not giving up on Aaron Glenn. It's not all that kind of stuff. They're concerned with the team with the lack of effort. And I would be too concerned. If your team's not coming out with a ton of effort with Aaron Glenn in your week 2 and week 3 games, especially in a divisional game last week against Buffalo at home, right? Like, you should be able to get up for that. You're facing Josh Allen. You're facing the team that just went to the AFC Championship. You're facing the team that's won multiple divisions in a row. You should be able to get up for that game.
Right.
They're not able to get up for that game, and they get boat raced in their own building. And it was the same like first half against Tampa Bay, and then in the second half, they came back and had a chance to win the game, and they didn't. So I would say they're probably concerned about the lack of effort with Aaron Glenn, the defense not being great. And it's the same thing. They're always saying it's the same old Jets. Like, it doesn't matter who we put in. Like, you just mentioned that they make the same mistakes year in and year out. No matter if it's Adam Gase, Rex Ryan, Robert Saleh, and Aaron Glenn, it's the same thing. And look, is that fair to the new players and Aaron Glenn on the Jets? No, it's not fair. But it's what it is being a member of the Jets right now. And until someone, maybe it's Aaron Glenn, breaks that kind of curse.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's his first year, so I guess we'll have to give him some grace. But again,
concerned about the effort. That's a concerning type of thing.
I mean, I feel like we haven't seen much of that with the Bills. There's been a couple games where I felt like over the last 5, 6, 7 years where it's been like there's no energy. Like, but like with the Jets, and I watch a bunch of Jets content creators on YouTube, and they're all saying, like you said, this is the same shit. It's just a new season. Like, we find ways to lose games. We don't find ways to win games. We find games just to lose games. So, all right, that leads us with the Dolphins. As we all know, the Bills beat the Dolphins by 10 on Thursday Night Football. We all know Josh Allen's dominance over the Miami Dolphins, Sean McDermott's dominance over the Miami Dolphins. So I think a lot of people in the offseason were talking about this might be one of those end-all, be-all seasons for a lot of the Dolphins coaching staff, the general manager, things like that, because of all the turmoil and the culture. And we've heard about how players just don't get excited to play. I mean, after week 1, this team had a players-only meeting after week 1. So that's pretty telling of what, it's pretty telling of what's going on in that locker room. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, a lot of the players did come out after the Bills game and said that Mike McDaniel called one hell of a game. He was positive the morale was up and stuff like that, but you still lost by 10 points. And I said this after the game, I feel like the Bills were playing with their food. Like, I feel like the Bills didn't play great, especially defensively, but the Bills probably could have put up 40-plus points on the Dolphins if it wasn't for a couple weird things that happened with that weird field goal, the sack on third down, a couple other things. Joe Brady trying to get cute in the second half with the passing game. So what's your take on the Dolphins? And then we can kind of, have an outlook for what's going on in week 4. So what's going on to you with the Dolphins team, and where does this team, where are they going to go forward for the 2025 season?
So in August, Dave, I did a podcast where I picked 3 teams that I would say go over their win total, and 3 teams that would go under their win total for what Vegas and FanDuel and DraftKings set their lines at, right? And the Miami Dolphins line was set at 8.5 on FanDuel.
Oh, you got muted again.
I didn't touch anything, and this mic stinks. This mic might be cooked. Okay. I don't know where I stopped, but I did a podcast. I said
over under 8.5 wins.
The Dolphins were over under 8.5 wins. They were 8-9 last year, so they went under that respective total last year. I picked them to go under 8.5 this year, Dave. I thought this was the year where, like you kind of mentioned it, it's kind of are we moving forward with Mike McDaniel and Tua, blah blah blah, or are we going backwards and we have to reset this thing at some key parts of this team? I thought they're going backwards. I thought the Patriots were going to have probably a better year than them, and I didn't think the Jets would. My 8.5, obviously not cashed it yet. There's still obviously a lot of games left in the season. They're 0-3, and that 8.5 is looking pretty good at the moment for Dolphins not getting to above 500. It's probably over, Dave, for the Dolphins with Mike McDaniel. We're not doing the mic anymore. Mic is gone. We're just going with the computer audio, and if it sounds a little,
it's fine.
That's
you're
okay.
Good. You're good.
Dave, I think it's over with Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins. I really do. I don't know where they go from here. They've already paid Tua. They have an aging 𝐷𝐸𝐾 Hill that's probably wants to be out, and he already requested to be out and kind of backtrack that. I like Jalen Waddle. I like Devin A-Chain. Like, those are two really good NFL players right there. Where do they, I don't know where they go from here. Like, I know you asked me. I'm also asking you here, but like, I don't know where they go from here. They've already paid Tua. He's not top 10 quarterback in the National Football League. He's not. And their defense lacks a ton of talent, even though I thought they played decently against Buffalo. And I thought they had a lot of effort against Buffalo and they were competitive in that game. I think the Bills did some things to keep them in that game. But I don't know where you go from here. Like, it's not the Patriots talk where we're in year 2 of Drake May. We don't know what he is yet, and he keeps ascending. It's not, well, for the Jets, it's year 1 of Aaron Glenn, and we don't have a franchise quarterback yet. We got to go get our franchise quarterback. Dolphins paid their franchise quarterback. They have their franchise head coach. They have 𝐷𝐸𝐾 Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. They have Devin A-Chain. If it doesn't work with those guys, it's not going to work. There's nothing else the Dolphins can do offensively, if you're speaking offensively, with those weapons. Those are really good weapons. That's a really good running back. And Mike McDaniel is supposed to be a really good play caller. There's nothing else they really can do. And if it bottoms out on Monday Night Football and they lose to the Jets and they're 0-4, and you know what happens when you lose on primetime games? More people watch it.
Yeah, everybody sees it.
Fired. People get fired after losing on primetime games a lot more than they do if they sit at 1 o'clock in a random window that not everyone watches. It's not officially over because they could win. They can win a couple games and get back to 500. Obviously, it's over if they bottom out on Monday Night Football and lose to the Jets.
I think to me, I can relate to Dolphins fans being upset about their GM and why they're flying banners from helicopters that say fire the GM. Like, he paid Tua a ton of money before I feel like he had a couple consistent years of, number 1, staying healthy, number 2, playing at an elite top 10 level. There was a stat that I saw that came out yesterday about comparing how much money he's going to be making going forward to some of the elite quarterbacks, and it's more. And to have a guy now, do I think Tua is horrible? No, I think Tua is probably a top 18, top 15 quarterback. But the problem is you're locked into him now for an extended period of time. So even if you flip over the coaching staff that was supposed to groom him and have him become the guy, because you have Mike McDaniel, who's this supposed offensive guru. The problem is your GM also paid 𝐷𝐸𝐾 Hill a ton of money after he came over from Kansas City. So I can understand the fans in Miami being upset that their GM is just doling out cash and they haven't had any success at all. A few years ago, they made the playoffs and lost in the first round of the Bills. But like, other than that, like, you have a top heavy roster as far as salary that's winning 8 or 9 games a year. That just can't be. So I don't know, man. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how these next few games play out. But I agree with you. If the wheels completely fall off on Monday Night Football against a division opponent, against the Jets, who are 0-3 just like you, I feel like looking at 0-4, it might be time for McDaniel to go, and the GM, they have to take a hard look at that and figure out what they're going to do going forward. So I don't know. I like you said, I feel like they put up a fight, and Thursday night football games are always weird though. Like, the Bills had 2 walkthroughs, so did the Dolphins. They had 2 walkthroughs in 1 practice, and Joey Bosa even said when he was interviewed after the game, he's like, I don't get my legs under me for practice until Wednesday. Like, I'm just still trying to recover, get right, do treatment, all that kind of stuff until Wednesday. And here that week, they got a game the next day. So that was just a weird game. And like I said, I feel like the Bills could have put up a lot more points. I feel like they tried to get cute in the second half. You know, I think Brady was trying to go blow for blow with McDaniel offensively and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see. So coming up in week 4.
One more thing with the Dolphins, Tua. So they already paid Tua, like you mentioned. That dead cap doesn't get any better. It starts to get better, but it doesn't. In 2026, Dave, that dead cap is $99 million if they cut him. And
what is Tyreek making next year? Like $66 million or something like that? Something crazy?
Yeah, so Tua's dead cap is like 99, then it drops to 37, which is still a lot of dead cap money.
Oh, that's a ton. Yeah.
And then so it dropped 99 and 26, 2027 is 31. 2028 is 18. You're looking at one more year of Tua. You're probably looking at 2 more years of Tua.
At least 2, yeah.
Yes. Tyreek Hill's making his cap hit this year is 27 million. His cap hit next year is 51.8 million.
Yeah. And then to trade him
at 28 million.
Yeah, the dead cap to trade him is insane unless the team, unless they can offload some of that contract. Or I mean, I don't think they're going to cut him, but
that's a ridiculous cap hit for a receiver in 2020.
Yeah, that's more than probably 90% of the quarterbacks in the NFL. That's insane. He's making more money than any elite pass rusher in the NFL.
So we talk about like the Patriots, Dave. Like they don't have weapons, but they're not paying anybody right now.
They have money though for next year. They got a ton of money next year.
The Dolphins have weapons. They're still bad, and they can't get out of it unless you take a giant dead cap. If you take those dead caps, you're like, okay, well, Tyreek potentially Tua's not on our team, but guess what? We're gonna stink for a year or two, like really stink because we can't go pay anybody.
Right.
We have to get lucky if we draft a couple hits early in the draft to have ramp up the development process. There's no way to go. Like if you're a Patriots fan, you're like, okay, we need to get talent for Drake May. And well, do they? Yeah, they need to get talent around for Drake May. They tried with or they're trying with Travion Henderson with that the rookie out of Ohio State. The Dolphins are like, we got everything. We have all the talent, and we still stink. And then now we can't get out of those contracts. So they're in a messy situation right now. Like they're in a really messy situation.
Yeah, the Patriots drafted Kyle Williams too. Don't forget.
They did, yeah.
So I mean, at least they
tried last year with Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, and that has failed.
I mean, if you look at how the Bills constructed the roster after they got Josh, like year one was atrocious as far as his skill position players. But then Bean went out and got John Brown and Cole Beasley, and then they started drafting. They drafted Gabe Davis the following year, got Diggs. Yeah. So I feel like if the Patriots, like, here's the thing too, like, I think Brandon Bean Brandon Bean gets a lot of slack for some of these misses on draft picks and stuff like that. But if you look at how he's constructed this roster, he came in 17 after the draft, and he got rid of the high contract players that he felt like he needed to start resetting and adding, draft capital. Then he got Josh, and then he's slowly built this team into what it is. And I feel like, yes, the coaching aspect and the execution from the players, but if you look at this roster, that's 100% built by Brandon Bean. So I feel if you look at teams now in the AFC East, they're going to have to look at the Bills as almost like a blueprint. Like, we got to find that quarterback. And the Dolphins, say what you want about Tua, they missed. The Jets haven't found a quarterback in forever. And then the Patriots now have their quarterback in Drake May. So at least they have a foundational piece. So I don't know. It is the Dolphins, and we like to poke fun at Miami because I guess it's our rival because of the hatred that both fan bases have for each other. But how could you not be a Dolphins fan, just be physically ill at looking at like all the stuff that you just mentioned as far as the contracts that have to be paid? And if these guys aren't here, what can you do? You can't. Your hands are tied. You really can't. Yeah. You can't do much.
I would just be mad. I would be mad. Yeah. You're just mad at people at this because
I mean, we were mildly upset because of the Diggs dead cap when we traded him, and then look at now, like we had all the other offsetting things that were able to mask that somewhat and things like that. But it's like if you think Tua is your guy, so say McDaniel isn't around next year for whatever reason, he gets fired either in a couple of weeks or at the end of the season, whatever it is. So now you have to bring in a quarterback that can work with Tua and try to figure that out. Plus, your defense is garbage. Like, their defense is not good. Then you have to figure out, you got to find like an X factor defensive coordinator. And then you have to find an offensive minded coach that can figure out how to make Tua work. And if that doesn't work, then you've wasted a year or two more of Tua and of a new head coach. So it's like, what are we doing? You know,
the new coach is probably going to come in and not want Tua.
That's what I'm saying.
They usually want their own guy for the most part. Most coaches want their guy, right? Yeah, and usually when they come in when they want their own guy, they can get their own guy because they can get out of whatever contract they're in. That Tua deal is like, well, we can get out of the Tua deal, but then we're gonna have no money to spend.
Yeah, we're gonna have literally no money to pay, and we're gonna be paying
on
guys
this team next year unless they want to take a $99 million cap hit.
Yeah, for sure.
He's on this team next year. I agree. Point blank.
I agree.
Because how do you take a $99 million dead cap?
You can. It's unheard of. It's unheard
So-
of. All right, so let's look forward to week 4. So week 4, obviously the Bills play the Saints. The Bills, like we alluded to, wherever you look at your betting lines, the Bills are either 14.5, 15.5, or I've seen it up to 16.5 point favorites over the Saints.
They're big favorites.
I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that because there's going to be shows later in the week that are going to preview the Bills and Saints. So I want to talk about the Patriots play the Panthers, and like we said, the Jets play the Dolphins. So the Panthers are a weird team to me. I can't figure Bryce Young and the Panthers out. Like they went and they just mollywopped the Falcons.
Yeah.
I think it was 30-0, something like that.
Yeah.
And if you look through the stats,
30-0,
yeah, it was just a weird game. Like Bryce Young didn't do anything dynamic. He had a short rushing touchdown, but so that I feel like the Patriots and Panthers, that game can kind of go either way. But then the Jets and Dolphins, that's going to be obviously the key determining factor for who's going to end up, I think, in the basement of the AFC East. So what's your thoughts on any of those games? Kind of a brief like summary of what you can expect to see this coming week in the AFC East.
Yeah, Panthers, Patriots. It's one of those 1:00 games that you once in a while see on Red Zone. Those type of games. I would be not shocked because it's the NFL and I don't think the Patriots are great. It's in Foxborough. I would be shocked if the Patriots lose 2 in a row to Foxborough. But the Panthers played better. I know we're not talking about the Falcons, but we're talking about the Panthers Falcons. Did you see that Michael Penix stat about if Michael Penix is 0-4 when opponents score more than 7 points?
7 points, yeah.
Yeah. And the Bills get the Falcons in a couple weeks on Monday Night Football. They go to Atlanta.
That's relevant for sure.
So that's another obviously conversation for a couple weeks when people are talking about that, the Bills Falcons game. Panthers Patriots. Yeah, I don't know what to do with the Panthers. Like Atlanta's not great, and I thought they would actually be a little better because I picked Atlanta to win that division.
Their roster is ridiculous.
Their roster should win that NFC South. They should win that division. I always thought Carolina was still a fun team. Like they could win a couple games, win 5 to 7 games. Don't think really Bryce Young's a franchise quarterback. But I don't think the Panthers are a playoff team. I expect New England to win that game. But it's not like the Patriots are an elite team. Like they lost at home to Vegas, and Vegas isn't great. Right. So I know. So I don't know where to do with the Patriots. They probably end up winning that game, but it's not like the Raiders are 1-2, and the Raiders walked into New England and won that game. The Patriots didn't play well against Pittsburgh, a lot of turnovers, but obviously that doesn't mean they're going to turn the ball over 5 times against Carolina. That could be a fluky game, and it probably is a fluky game. But yeah, this is a game where the Patriots should win. If they don't win, then you're talking about another really bad year probably for the Patriots. Jets, Dolphins. It's like, who gives a, you know what, like enough to win this game? Seriously, like that's what this game
beat each other up. That's all.
No, but, like who cares enough about this season wins this game? That's what it is. If the Dolphins are done with Mike McDaniel, or they know Mike McDaniel's probably done, they could get rolled over at home and that'd be it. And that place turns really toxic really fast on Monday night. If the Dolphins are still fighting for whatever, they're a better team than the Jets. They're a better team than the Jets. They have a better head coach than the Jets. The Dolphins should win this game. But it's really, who cares more? Like, do we get kind of the Jets that showed up in week 1 that almost beat Pittsburgh? Don't think Pittsburgh's great at all. I know they're 2-1. Don't really think Pittsburgh's an elite team whatsoever. But the Jets showed up in that game and almost won that game. Or do you get the Jets team that didn't show up against Buffalo and didn't show up in the first half against Tampa Bay? But in all seriousness, this is like who shows up. It's like who cares about their season? Because whoever loses this game is 0-4. And the season's over if you want to think about playoffs. And I know we talked about off air, not 0-4 teams, but 0-3 teams. And Jets and Dolphins are the 2 0-3 teams here we're talking about. Only 6 teams. I said 4 to you. It's 6 teams. Only 6 teams have ever made the playoffs after starting 0-3. The most recent was Houston in 2018. They started 0-3, actually ended up being 11-5. So credit to Houston. Before that, it was the Bills in 1998. The Bills went 0-3, and then they went 10-6 in the AFC wild card. And then it was Lions 95, Chargers 92, Bucks 82, and the Jets 81. So there's been 6 teams that have done it, and only 1 team since 1998 have gone 0-3 and made the playoffs. So it's a bleak outlook for both those teams. It gets really bleak. It gets virtually impossible if you're 0-4. So who shows up more? Like, what are your thoughts on this game?
This game, I think this is one of those games where the Dolphins do Dolphin things and they look good offensively and they win. I feel like this is a game. I don't trust anything that the Jets are doing. The Jets just find, like I said, find ways. And then it's going to have that little spark of hope for the Dolphins that, okay, we performed, there was a huge effort against the Bills, who are, everybody's big brother in the AFC East. And now we came out and we took care of a team that we should have beat because we're better than them on paper. And we're okay. And then I think it's going to be a couple weeks down the road that the door is they're going to get the door slammed in their face again. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Either way, if you look at it, if the Patriots lose, all the AFC East teams are going to be at least 3 games behind, if not more, because of the tiebreakers the Bills have. Because the Patriots will be 1-3. The Jets or Dolphins, one will be 0-4 and one will be 1-3. So that's why I titled the show as The Race for the East Already Over. I'm not trying to say that it is, because it's NFL. It's a week-to-week league. Weird things can happen. And everybody, I think if you looked at all the betting odds for the AFC East in the offseason, I think the Bills had a 98 or 99% chance to win the East, regardless of any games even being played. So I don't know. I think the Bills' schedule is playing out really well. Yes, that Patriots game is looming on October 5th, but if they get through that unscathed, it's like the back half of the schedule. Yes, we'll have to play these teams each one more time, but I don't know. I think the mountain has already been built for these teams to try to climb. And again, I don't think anybody predicted the Jets, the Dolphins, or the Patriots to push the Bills. It was more about, okay, who's going to push for second place? And I still feel like that's going to be obviously the biggest key right here. And maybe it's the Patriots, maybe the Dolphins figure some things out, but I definitely don't think the Jets are more than a 4 or 5 win team this year. So that's our outlook. Anything else you want to add, Peter, before we get out of here?
I quickly pulled up a betting website. I don't know who you guys are sponsored by, so I don't want to give anybody free advertising.
You're good. Let it rip, man. You're good.
Put a FanDuel quickly. AFC East right now, you still can bet on the Bills to win the division. You might have to put a couple more bucks than you probably would like to get value back. So right now, the AFC East, the Bills are minus 2,000, which is absurd.
That's obscene.
3 weeks. Like, put it in perspective, Ravens are minus 450. Colts are minus 135. Chargers minus 155. The next highest odds are Bucks at minus 320, right? Like, everyone's around 300 to 150 minus. Bills are minus 2,000. The Patriots are in second at plus 1,700. And then the Dolphins and the Jets are both tied at plus 8,000.
Good grief.
8,000. That is a ridiculous. Like, so FanDuel is telling you it's over. I'm not saying it's over because there's 14 games. There's a ton of football left because I'm not an idiot.
Right.
Because there's a lot of football left. FanDuel is basically telling you it's over.
Yeah.
At minus 2,000.
Let me ask you this. I know this wasn't part of our topics. I looked, and obviously we have a big game tonight, Lions and Ravens. That's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm hoping that the Lions team from last week shows up.
Yes.
Shows up tonight. The one that put up, they scored 52 last week.
Yeah.
I was looking at the AFC standings, and it's odd to me to see the Colts and the Chargers and the Bills all tied at 3-0. Not the Bills. I think we all kind of expected these first 3 games the Bills were going to be 3-0. What's your thoughts on the Colts? And is this team for real? Because Jonathan Taylor looks really good. I mean, Danny Dimes, say what you want about him. He looks really good. He's playing control style offense, similar to what Josh Allen's doing right now with the Bills. What's your thoughts? And the Chargers look really good. I think on all 3 phases, the Chargers look really good. So what's your thoughts just on how the AFC's laid out? We'll just, a brief, couple minutes thoughts on that.
If you gave me like the option of who do I think is more real, the Chargers or the Colts, I would obviously lean towards the Chargers. I think the Chargers are more of a legit team. Harbaugh's a great coach. I think Justin Herbert's an elite quarterback. They're talented. The Colts are interesting, right? Like, they beat Miami. They beat Denver barely, who Denver looks like they're taking a step back at 1-2 early in the year to a team that some people picked that win that division, and the Bills saw them in the playoffs last year, right? And then they beat Tennessee. So they beat Miami, they beat Tennessee, 2 pretty bad teams, we think, and a Denver team that might not be that good. They go to LA this Sunday. They play at the Rams, and the Rams are coming off an absolute heartbreaking loss.
Yeah,
to Philly, getting 2 kicks blocked. Rams should most likely be 3-0 with the win against the Eagles at this point. So this is a big test. If they're real and they beat LA this weekend in LA, they're a legit, I'm not going to say Super Bowl contender team, but they're a legit playoff contending team, and they can win a playoff game or two. If they lose on Sunday, I think people may pump the brakes, be like, okay, hold up a second. Let's wait a second here. Let's give it a couple more weeks. But you win games in the National Football League. What else are you supposed to do? Like, you're 3-0. Like, they did everything they were supposed to do. I'm not there yet. I'm really not. I want to see, like, Daniel Jones have to go toe-to-toe with an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to see. I don't know if Matthew Stafford's still an elite quarterback at this moment of his career. He's probably on his way out. The Rams got 2 first-round picks next year. They're probably going to draft a quarterback. But obviously, he's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones is at this point of his career. Daniel Jones probably had a better year. If he can go toe-to-toe with him and maybe win, or just even go toe-to-toe with him, then I think the Colts are a legit team. They're probably not going to beat Baltimore, Buffalo, those type of teams. Probably not the Chargers, probably not Kansas City in a playoff game. It's just probably not going to happen. The Chargers can win that division. I still picked the Chiefs to win the division in the beginning of the year because I was at the point of, like, I need to see it happen for me not to pick it, just because it's the Chiefs, it's Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid. The Chiefs have not looked good. Denver has not looked good. Right now, it's the Chargers 3-0, and everyone else is 1-2 in that division. It's not over. The Chiefs are not going to lay down and just be bad for the rest of the year. But Chargers are legit. They have if you were going to ask me who am I more scared of, like, in a playoff game, it's the Chargers. They have an elite quarterback that is super talented. They have weapons. Quentin Johnson's taking that next step. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞's still there. They have Omari and Hampton, and they have Harbaugh, who's a really good coach. It's interesting, but, like, do you buy the Colts yet? Or you're like, I need to see it, like, to 3 or 4 more games? Because that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
I think I'm like you. I looked at who they played. I looked back at who they played. Obviously, I knew they played Tennessee yesterday, but Tennessee is atrocious.
Really? Did you see? Sorry to cut. Did you see that end of the first half with Tennessee yesterday?
Refresh my memory.
Ryan Callahan. They went to attempt. I think it was a 56 or 57-yard field goal. Absurd. That's obviously that's a long field goal.
Yeah.
They took a delay of game with 40 seconds left in half, and they had 2 timeouts, and they were attempting a field goal. They took a delay of game, and that made it a 62-yarder, and they missed the field goal. The Colts go down and get points before the half with like 30 seconds left. That's fire.
That's good head coaching right there.
That's a fire. And they pan to him on the sideline, and he's shaking his head, and I'm like, "What are you shaking your head for? You had 2 timeouts. It's the second.
It's on you.
Like,
it's on you.
Timeout.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're good. You're good.
Sometimes is absurd.
I'm not on the Daniel Jones hype train. I thought he got a bad deal in New York. I'm not saying he was good. He was really good. I just feel like there was not a lot of support for him. Obviously the coaching turnover and stuff like that, offensive coordinator turnover and things like that. But Brian Daboll's a guy that can develop quarterbacks. I mean, we've seen it firsthand as Bills fans, right? He's really good at developing quarterbacks. So I don't know, like you said, Jonathan Taylor scares me, especially when the Bills can't stop the run. That kind of scares me a little bit, but I don't think that they would be able to go toe-to-toe with the Bills offense. If you put, like, right down to it, like you said, in the postseason, if they make the postseason, I just don't feel like they can beat elite teams. I mean, now I could be proven wrong. Daniel Jones could be on this resurgence that we've never seen before and could come out and be playing like the MVP
type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, he could be just playing like an MVP, and who knows? But, the Chargers are one team that I am concerned with because they're very well coached. And like you said, Harbaugh is a structured guy, very similar to McDermott. He's a guy that likes things done certain ways and doesn't deviate from that too much, which is good because that creates structure, right? So they're good offensively. Justin Herbert hasn't done anything in the postseason that would lead me to believe that he could do anything different in this postseason, other than the fact that now he has a new head coach. So defensively, I like what they're doing. And they have a 2-game lead on the AFC West. So I don't think it'll stay that way because I think these teams are all going to start cannibalizing each other here pretty soon. And it will become like whoever the last man standing is. And like you said, we've been talking shit about the Chiefs as Bills fans because they were 0-2, and the game last night was pretty ugly. And I think if they played a better team last night with a decent quarterback play, they could have lost that game last night. But you can't ever count the Chiefs out. I think Andy Reid's too good of a head coach, and obviously they have Patrick Mahomes. So they seem to turn it on when they need to turn it on. And I have a feeling like they're going to be, poking their nose in there. And then we can't forget about the Ravens. So if the Ravens fall to 1-2 after tonight, I feel like the Bengals in that division without Joe Burrow, I'm not really scared of the Steelers, and then the Browns are going to brown, even though they beat the Packers yesterday. But I think there's like 3 or 4 teams right now. The Bills being one, definitely the Chargers, and then you got to have to pay attention to Baltimore and Kansas City and kind of see how they turn out, the next 14 weeks.
Do you see that comment? I know we're going over, but you see that comment by Steve about the Chiefs and Ravens? That's a big game next week, no matter what, because the Chiefs are 1-2. Baltimore could either be 2-1 or 1-2, depending on what happens tonight against the Lions. That's a huge game. Chiefs, Ravens next week. I don't even know. It's probably.
I think at this point we have the advantage on both teams. So just keep winning games if you're the Bills. I don't like to do the whole, and it's early still, like you said a couple times. It's early, but I mean, do you want the Chiefs to beat the Ravens? I mean, I guess it depends on what happens tonight. If the Ravens are 1-2 after tonight and then they fall to 1-3, and the Chiefs are 2-2, that's an issue. If the Ravens lose tonight and then beat the Chiefs, they're both 2-2. So I guess that would theoretically be what we would want to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, the Chiefs would be 1-3.
Yeah.
So theoretically, we want teams to come to Buffalo, and we want these teams to play in the divisional round, and we can pick the scraps later on.
We just don't want to face one of these teams in the divisional round.
Yeah, I mean seems
my biggest fear now is if it was more the Chiefs, but they won last night. If the Chiefs sneak in as the 7 seed into the
that was my fear, that they're going to be
and
the
then
wild.
We get the 1 seed and we play them in the divisional round. That would be
second round.
That'd be
home in Buffalo.
Terrible. That's what I'm saying. Usually, historically, the 1 seed, especially in the new format with the 7 teams, which is I don't know if it's new anymore. It's probably 4 or 5 years old. The 1 seed usually plays an AFC South team or a poor wild card team in the divisional round, and it's either the Bills, Ravens, Bengals.
The AFC South, though, you're right.
But it's usually Bills, Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals in the divisional round, and that 1 seed doesn't play as good of an opponent. It was Baltimore a couple years ago when the Bills lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round. They played Houston. It's a different path to the AFC Championship game than it is if you have to play in that 2-3 game. Because historically, in the last 4 to 5 years, that 2 to 3 game is 2 really good teams that can win a Super
It's
Bowl.
always been that way. So I mean, look at last year. It was the Bills and Ravens. So
you don't want to play that game, and that game can go either way. You don't want to play that game again. You don't want to look. Most likely, you're going to have to beat a good team in the AFC Championship game. It's just how it is. You're going to have to beat an elite team for the most part, but you want that game to be in the AFC Championship game like it was last year for the Bills.
Hey, do you want to? I'm going to put this comment up. You want to see if you can find any news about Jalen Hurts? I don't know if this is a troll. Somebody said Jalen Hurts tore his ACL in practice today.
I'm going to assume that's a troll. Do they practice the day after?
Yeah, I don't even think they practice on Monday, do they?
Just no, nothing. Just a quick Google search. Philly Mike OG is having a mental breakdown over there.
Yeah, he even put Adam Schefter. No. Oh, this is hilarious. So, all right, that's our AFC East and a small AFC breakdown. As the season progresses, obviously Peter's going to be here on Mondays when he's not doing his full-time job, and we can have him on Mondays, and we'll keep this thing going. Next week, we can do a game recap of Bills and Saints, which will be fun. We'll break down all the ins and outs, good and bad and ugly and stuff like that. So for Peter DiBiase, I'm actually, hold on. Before that, Peter, where can everybody find you other than on Twitter? What else you got going on?
Like you said, find me on Twitter at DiBiase Peter. I have my own podcast called the Talking Sports Podcast. You can find it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Twitter, or Instagram. Yeah, check me out there. So everything's on my Twitter page, all my links and all that kind of stuff. And then, my podcast, you can find it basically wherever you listen or watch your podcasts.
And if you guys have made it this far, please smash the like button, subscribe on YouTube, hit that share button wherever you're watching this. Thank you for all the comments. If you're rewatching this after we're live, drop your comments for anything that we discussed, your predictions about the AFC East, the rest of the AFC, things like that. For Peter DiBiase, I'm Dave Myers. We'll see you next time on First and 5.